So I just wanted to make a quick video on this. This is a honey locust right here. These are really good trees for all sorts of different things on anybody that has a farm. If you're trying to have a diversified farm at all, this is a wonderful tree to have. Now this is the thorn variety. They do have varieties that do not have thorns anymore, but I'm fine with the thorn varieties in my cattle pastures because it just keeps deer from rubbing on them and stuff like that. So it's not really hurting anything. They're a little, you have to be careful when you're working with them, but we've left these trees behind. This was all clear cut land back in here, and we're slowly cleaning it up and getting it better, but we left this behind. I wanted to show you what I did though. I cut the top out of it, topped it, laid everything over, and then cut some of the limbs and some of the thorns off the bottom. You just take your chainsaw and lightly go over it. You don't want to debark it, but lightly go over it. You can knock a lot of those lower thorns and just make it easier to work around. So that works pretty good. We like to leave several trees on our place. You can see this one right here. This is a mulberry. This one right here I'm probably going to take down. I left it for a little while. That is a sycamore tree. My wife loves sycamores, so I left a bunch of sycamores, but I'm going to cut down a lot of them. But we just kind of wanted to see what was going to be the best place to have them. Remember, when you have a tree that's a decent size and you're coming through and cutting trees, it takes 15 minutes to knock them down, you know. But it's going to take you, you're going to have to put a cage around it. You're going to have to take super good care of it and everything if you want to grow that tree. And then it's going to take a while before it ever starts producing or becoming decent shade. So I left too many trees out here with the intention of coming through and cutting out what I didn't want. And some of them, I don't know if you can see, there's this tree and then there's one right over in there somewhere. That one died. So one of them lived and one of them died because a deer rubbed on that other one. So by leaving too many, I kind of helped cull stuff out, so to speak. And also there's several trees that are bigger and better. So I'll keep the ones that are bigger and better. You know, we've got all kinds of mulberries. We've already started producing mulberries. So we're going to use that as shade trees and everything else out here. You know, a lot of trees like this one right here. This is a massive white oak that got struck by lightning and it's dead now. It's got a lot of lumber in it if I can get it cut down. I'm worried it's going to be dangerous to cut down, but it does have a lot of lumber. I don't know if I can even fit it on my sawmill. But trees like that, once they get that big, they start to rob huge amounts of stuff from your soil, like not just nitrogen, but also just like fertilizer, minerals and things like that. So once they get that big, that's why nature takes them out with lightning. You know, things like that is just part of nature. You know, you get something that's just out competing everything else and it's too big, and nature finds a way of finding balance again. You know, so that's kind of what we do on our farm when we're working on stuff, is think kind of what is nature going to do, and we kind of work with that and massage it to work with us, to work for us as well. So we're leaving several of these kinds of trees. Whatever trees we'll leave, we probably won't let them get overly tall. We're going to top them just like that. And we'll do the same with the mulberries probably. We'll end up topping them, taking them down. And, you know, some of them, like I said, we'll end up getting rid of. But, you know, you see the size of this paddock here. They're not necessarily going to be this big. It depends on how we're grazing. Like right now, we're grazing this 25 acres by itself. Sometimes we combine it with other property. That's better if you can do that, but that's not always the way you do it. So we're trying to cut this property out as if it's being grazed by itself so that we can figure out exactly where to lay out all the lines and all like that. And what that does is, you know, it's kind of nice to have shade in each paddock when you do that. But at the same time, shade also takes away growth from the rest of your pasture. So you kind of have to be real careful. But that's one thing that's nice about this tree right here, the honey locust especially, because it's passive shade. Now these honey locusts are special in themselves because they are nitrogen fixtures. So that's one plus. Number two, they grow a bean pod on them. I don't know if you can see it in this lighting or not. You can see that bean pod right there. They grow a bean pod on them that is 30% sugar. So when that bean pod falls off of there, that's pure sugar. So that's feed for any animal that comes by and eats that, you know. That end up developing a bean in there, and that ends up being good feed right about the fall time, right when they need their fat on them. So that's 2 pluses for this tree. Now, a third plus for this tree is it's really good if you're growing an orchard and you want diversity. For one, the nitrogen fixing aspect of it is really good, but it also adds diversity to your orchard, and it's really good for bug control. I don't know a huge amount on that subject. I'm still learning a lot about that subject, but there's a guy on YouTube, I can't remember his channel, but he talks a lot about like trios and things like that in your orchard, and permaculture orchard. You know, he's up in Canada, and this is one thing he uses. He uses a thornless variety mostly, but he uses these in his orchard, and it's a big deal. So keep that in mind, that the reason it's such a big deal for him is because it helps with bug control, is what he was saying. Now, I don't know if it's going to do much for bug control in your cattle pasture, but it helps with bug control with your fruits and stuff. So just any kind of diversity like that you can get is always going to be a plus side. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of show y'all what we're doing here. These are a little bit of a pain to work with, but they're not that bad if you just kind of work with it. I mean, it's hard to make it look really clean and pretty because, you know, you got your thorns on it and everything, but it's fine. It's still a good looking tree. It's going to grow out and take care of itself. And so we're going to keep on working with it and kind of go on from there. We got several of these out through here. There's a big one down in there somewhere, I think. Anyway, that's 3 or 4 of them together. It'd be nice to dig them up and plant them somewhere else. But we're just going to keep playing with it, guys. So as always, like and subscribe.